Welcome to the Aki Culture Club. What's up, everyone? I'm your co-founder, Damien.
And I am Nick.
Nick, are you ready to kick off the 41st club meeting?
Let this club meeting commence, Damien.
Let's do it. Nick, how are you doing today?
Happy Tuesday, man. It's my favorite day.
It's his favorite day. Happy Tuesday, he says. Nick, are you still sick?
I'm on the ed. Like I'm getting out of it now. Like my voice is a little crackly, but I'm way better than it was last week.
You're on the mend, aren't you?
Yes.
Nice. I wanted to start off this week's episode actually by talking about a show that just ended, actually.
Okay.
To Your Eternity. So I've actually been holding on to this thought. I was speaking with someone who actually likes anime a lot this past weekend, and we were talking about To Your Eternity, and I had this thought that just jumped into my head, right? The knockers, right? Mm-hmm. So we saw Purell at the very end of the episode turn into a ball of energy that we presume she'll be sent down to Earth to try to go on the same journey that Fushi's on. Mm-hmm. So we know that Fushi is also that same ball of energy. Well, do you think it's interesting that the knockers kind of have the same type of power that Fushi has? Like Fushi has the ability to absorb a power or absorb a form from somebody who's formed a close bond with. Mm-hmm. But on the flip side, it feels like the knockers kind of just take that form from people, right?
Yeah.
Do you think, or is it a possibility that the knockers are just like Fushi in the fact that they were once humans sent down as balls of energy and turned evil?
Like they were sent down like neutral and they turned evil, or they were sent down with an evil intent to begin with?
They were sent down as if Fushi was sent down the same way. And through their journey, they became like greedy or lustful, and they wanted as many different forms as possible. Mm-hmm. And they just started, instead of forming those bonds with people, they just started stealing them.
Yeah, I mean, like if you think about it, Fushi could have gone down that path very easily if the first thing he turned into wasn't like some nice boy's dog. Mm-hmm. He could have been evil.
Yeah, very well he could have been evil. He could have turned into like something, I don't know, like a shark almost.
Yeah, and the narrator is supposed to be like just observing this whole time. He's not really trying to intervene. Mm-hmm. So like if he came down and turned evil, like I guess it's a failed experiment on his end, but is he going to do anything? Like he's just supposed to be this like third party guy.
Yeah, maybe that's why he's intervening so much. Yeah. Is that because he's seen so many of his experimentations kind of just fail and turn into these amalgamated versions of energy that are now just stealing forms from people or these bodies of energy.
Yeah, the only difference is like Fushi turns into like the exact form, whereas the knockers, like they always look different. Like it was when like they turned into the bear for the first time, it was like a stone bear.
Yeah,
it wasn't the bear itself. So, and before that they were wood when they first started.
They were, and then towards the end they were actually in that form though, right? Did they when they stole the bear again? Did they steal the bear again, or they stole Goo Goo?
They stole Goo Goo, yeah. But then he got it back. But this was like they're almost like it's like a product of their environment. So they were wood the first time, and then the time that Goo Goo died, he was stone
because they were in a stone environment.
Yeah, and then he was stone again during like when he was in Jananda Island the first time that they came.
You're right.
Right?
Yes, you're right. So it's almost like it feels like they're like fake almost.
Right. Maybe like there's more people that are like the narrator and they're just evil. And they send down stones, balls of energy, but with evil intent.
Okay. Interesting, because Fushi has a neutral intent, right? Like he needed to make meaning himself.
Yes.
Okay. And it does seem like the narrator, he does have somewhat of a bias, right? Like he has an intention, and he is kind of like, I would say, guiding Fushi with that intention almost. So it very well could be that there is an evil intent. There are beholders or narrators, whatever, that have this negative intention.
Yeah, I mean, why wouldn't there be more if there's one?
True.
You know?
And Fushi did ask him if he was a demon, and he said, "We're so far removed from that, I won't even answer." So it's like, well, if there's one of you, there has to be more of you.
Yeah, it's such a cop-out answer.
It really was. He's like, so he's like, obviously, in this world, demons exist, so do angels, so do gods.
Mm-hmm.
So the narrator falls in that spectrum somewhere that we know of.
Yeah, like the purgatory servant. Something. I don't know.
Yeah,
he's something.
Purgatory servant. Yeah, you're right. He belongs somewhere in purgatory for sure.
Yeah. But I like your theory.
Thank you.
Because we've said before, like, this feels like it's not the first time the narrator has tried this.
Mm-hmm.
So maybe like he actually created the knockers by mistake, and then Fushi's like the next iteration of his experiment.
Wow, that very well could be, because he does know exactly where they are at all times, and when they're coming and when they're leaving, how many there are. And that's somewhat of a connection that he also has with Fushi, knows where he's exactly at all times. Like, so they're definitely in this sphere of influence.
Yes.
Of similarity.
Sure. Also, how did they get to name the knockers? I don't remember that.
I don't really know either.
It's just like, these are knockers. Deal with them.
And we're like, okay, I guess they're knockers. I always thought the name was weird. I'm like, all right, this is knockers. Okay. Yeah. It's spelled weird too. It's like, all right. Yeah. But anyway, I just wanted to bring that up for the last little bit. Just a thought that I had about To Your Eternity.
Yeah, it's a show that's still on my mind too. So
yeah, and I like that a show has been over, but we're for more than a week now, and we're still thinking about it. Still making me think.
That's how you know it's a good one, man.
It's true. That's very true. But for our regular shows that are still running, which ones do you want to jump into first?
I want to talk about Peach Boy.
Okay. We'll talk about the train wreck.
Yeah, well, okay. Yes, it is a train wreck. It has been the worst, other than the show that we dropped, which we won't talk about. It has been the worst out of all the ones we're watching.
Yeah.
But for the first time in 10 episodes, this episode came directly after the previous one.
Ah, okay.
Or no, it didn't. It came directly after the one that wasn't a flashback.
Yeah.
Like, it was in chronological order, right? No.
Yes, but only because they took it out of order to begin with. Like, we didn't know that Frau was able to turn into the demon. That happened before. Like, Todoroki died prior. Then, like, the episode that we watched and the episode before the flashback with Makoto, those episodes were earlier on in the show.
Right.
Together.
Right. Yes.
Like, if we were to go back even one more episode, we are much more further into the future. Like, we've seen Frau die already. And and when they killed the vampire ogre, like, that's in the future.
Yeah, I just meant like this string of episodes actually made sense for once.
Yeah. No,
it would have made more sense if the Peach Boy flashback episode didn't happen in between. Yes. But it ended with Millie coming 2 episodes ago, and Hawthorne and Todoroki. We had the flashback, which, like, we've seen that before, where it's like a suspenseful thing and then flashback episode and then resume suspenseful thing. And this one picked up right. Like, it was the first time that I wasn't confused at the beginning of an episode. How about that?
That's a good way of putting it. I would agree with that as well. I wasn't it was still what happened the first half of this episode. I still knew what was going on.
Yes. Now, that being said, there are still things I was very confused about.
Oh yeah. From the jump, like Winnie just showing up.
Yes.
Like, do we know her as a character?
She is the source of my confusion for this episode, because she also knows Frau.
Yeah.
How?
I don't know.
And that sword that she gave Hawthorne was also Frau's.
Yeah. But don't you see how, like, that would have been much cooler to know, like, to if this episode happened before we know that Frau can die and go to heaven and then get sent back down by angels. Like if it would have been like, oh, this is Frau's sword from heaven, we would be like, what?
Yeah.
And then we would have seen her turn into that demon for a little bit to destroy the eagle ogre, and we'd have been like, heaven. Like she's clearly, and then he even says, like, you're not a regular hair folk. Like that would have been more suspenseful, because we were like, okay, so she's not a hair folk. She's probably not an angel, but she's from heaven. Like that, like would have been cooler. But because what we know, we already know, and what we've learned today, it's like, okay, this isn't fun.
No.
Like we know the major parts, but you're leaving out the little bits that bridge the gap of that information.
Yeah, but Frau turning into the demon, killing that demon, like turning into the demon and killing like the eagle ogre was the best part of the episode.
Oh, really?
To me, that was awesome.
For me, it was the end. The last, because, well, I guess spoiler, like everyone has seen this episode, we were watching it. Sumeragi just kills Todoroki.
Yeah, I was not expecting that, like, at all.
Neither was I. And then the rest of the gang of, like, you know, Sally and Sally and clan are just like walking hand in hand off into the distance to go to Legia. And you're just like, well, if you would have joined them, he would be alive still. You know, and it was like, that was a critical error on your part for turning them down, thinking you were going to go off on your own.
Yeah, we got that, like, oh, here we go. We're going to start feeling sympathy for the enemy because they're giving us the backstory. And like, it made you feel bad for Shinky right before he died. It made you feel bad for Todoroki because he was like an outcast, and Meki was like the only person to ever accept him. But then he dies, which that was new. That's not normally something that happens.
It's not, no. But also, it would have been nice to see Sumeragi kill Todoroki. So in the later episodes that we saw already, it'd be nice to know that he's like a stone cold killer.
Yeah.
And it would make the interactions with him more suspenseful.
Yes.
Because that would have been our first instance of seeing someone die. And like the choices of structure and episodes really, really dampens how good this show could have been if we had have just watched, if it would just release in order, or if we watched it in order, but we'd have to have waited anyway.
Yeah, you're right. It was a train wreck.
Yeah, it is. And it was this episode 10. So we only have like 2 more episodes left, and then we'll write this one off, I think. But yeah, I don't know. At one point I was like totally zoning out for this show. I was like, it got to the point where I was like, I just don't care anymore. And I was like, we can't, like, obviously, I mean, we're almost done it, so might as well just finish it. Like, this isn't anywhere near the train wreck of what The Detective is, because I feel like this show still has some merits. But I mean, other than that, it's just not feeling it, you know.
Let's just leave it at that.
Yeah,
it's fine.
Yeah, that's it. That's all I have to say about Peach Boy. I won't say it's the worst of all Aki Culture Club shows. It's definitely not anywhere near the best.
Yeah, definitely not the worst. It doesn't make me hate it.
Yes, doesn't make me like absolutely resent the entirety of the series.
Yes,
like one show does. So did you watch up to episode 5 of Fena?
Yes, I did.
You did. Okay, cool. So obviously you are clued in on the Joan of Arc bit.
Yeah, in our previous like discussion, you're like, yeah, they actually like talk about real people, and I didn't know what you were talking about. And then all of a sudden, Joan of Arc is a main player, and they also brought up the stone carver guy was like, yeah, we've done work for Da Vinci and Columbus, and it's like, I know those are people, I know who they are.
I know them. I know they've done cool things.
Yeah.
Before, so like the Joan of Arc, like, yeah, they're using like legitimate people, real people, not like she's legit, but real people that happen in, you know, our human history, and even places too, like Orleans. So I was like, okay, well, I have to like look that up, you know. So Orleans was the capital of the Kingdom of France and played an important role in the 100 Years' War. And it was particularly known for the role of Joan of Arc during the siege of Orleans. So it's a critically important part of Joan of Arc's history is the city that they're going to. So it's historically, I guess, accurate in terms of where Joan of Arc like lived and where she took place in battle.
I wonder, did she actually die in 1431? Like, is that an accurate date?
I don't know. I'll look that up.
Yeah, because I mean that's what they said in the show. So the stone was commissioned to be made in 1436.
Yeah, she died in
by Joan of
1431.
Arc. So that's all accurate. So
Yeah.
yeah,
She's nicknamed the Maid of Orleans.
Wow.
Yeah.
I don't know much about Joan of Arc other than she was like yeah, I don't know much about Joan of Arc. She's just like one of the when you think of like the really nice people, like a saint type of person, that's what comes in. She died in like she got stoned to death or burned alive.
Yeah.
Yeah, so a little history lesson along with some anime, which that's kind of cool.
Yeah, really cool actually. And even more so interesting, I'm reading now that her nickname is La Pucelle. The same name that they're constantly saying that they're looking for,
Mm-hmm.
La Pucelle, La Pucelle.
Yeah, we gotta hit up our French friend to tell us what that means.
Yeah, he'll let us know. Because I sure as heck don't. I was thinking it sounds like La Purell, like hand sanitizer. I don't know none about Pucelle. Another thing. Oh, sorry, go ahead.
No, go ahead.
So I was thinking also before we jump more into this episode, like what actually happened. There was like a little bit in the very beginning between Yukimaru's father and his older brother.
Mm-hmm.
They were saying that, we saw Yukimaru like with the little, the dove communicating with somebody, had, words written on a script that obviously we couldn't read. And his father and older brother were talking about the sway of the witch.
Yeah, so that's what I was going to bring up too. I didn't
cool.
want to just gloss over this because they didn't really tell you what that meant. It's just Yukimaru might be under like possession of a witch.
Yeah, which is interesting because he seems like such a strong character that wouldn't be necessarily persuaded by someone else.
Right.
And it was seemingly kind of glossed over. It was like, oh yeah, this is a thing, and then boom, right into the the action of this episode.
Mm-hmm.
So I guess that's kind of like a subplot that we continue to have to like look after, because I think at one point there's gonna be like a critical point in this show where that sway of the witch may intervene itself.
Yeah, my first thought was like, oh, is Fena like a witch? Is that what's going on here? But definitely not.
I don't think so. She doesn't look like someone who's holding ulterior motives. Like there was that point when they were walking down through the cave system, and she like changed from being very indecisive to very straightforward and stoic and knew exactly where she needed to go.
Mm-hmm.
And that doesn't look like it was anything that she brought onto herself, but looked like something that was like activated within her.
Yeah, and they said it's like smells and sights, like your senses can bring back memories. They're saying that she remembers actually being here, but I think maybe it's like some sort of like reincarnation type thing.
Yeah, I was picking up on that vibe too, like hardcore like reincarnation vibes.
Yeah, so like she's the reincarnation of Joan of Arc, maybe something.
I totally picked up on that too, and I was thinking that maybe it's like she has a child, and then that's like the reincarnation of Joan of Arc, like, and she dies after the child is born or at some point, and then that's the reincarnation. Or maybe it's a singular reincarnation where it's like they were waiting for this person who is Fena to be born, to be that reincarnation. So it's not just like lineage wise, but it's just like at some point in the bloodline, Joan of Arc will reappear as a reincarnated person.
Yeah, cosmic reincarnation. But of course, as soon as like anything's about to be explained, the bad guys show up.
Oh yeah, so I will interject in this current moment to say I think that this portion of the show was a little rushed. Like they were in the boat and they were obviously traveling, and it was a long distance. You can't show all of that, but then they just showed up to like wherever Orleans is, and I think it's in Paris, like south of Paris or something. And they're just like, "Yep, we're here. This is a big wall. Where do we go next? Oh, we're going to go down that hole." It's like, how did we like? I just felt like that was super like glossed over and very, very quickly rushed.
Yeah, it's actually something I wrote down. Like how did we get here? Why are they there? Like I understand they're just going off of clues from when they were in Germany.
Yeah.
But like they just got to these the catacombs essentially.
Yeah.
And how I agree.
And I get it, like the length of the episode was necessary, and it was like, I don't know if they could have used a few minutes to like land somewhere or talk to somebody, get clues to go someplace, or like maybe have Fena like have that inclination like a little bit earlier to direct the ship. But it did feel weird. Like, I think that they were trying to say like, oh, she has like, we're gonna trust your gut, and then like her gut led them there, and then eventually like the feeling kicked in and she was able to direct them without thinking about it. But like,
it's almost like they could have skipped the little training montage and replaced it with something like what we're asking,
Exactly.
But the training montage was nice.
It was.
It was a nice moment, but it seemed kind of pointless.
It did. And like, I don't want to say that Fena isn't a fighter, because we don't know yet. And maybe like those fighting skills will be able to kick in. But like, we also learned that the group that she's running with is the Goblin Knights, who come from a lineage of like to hire to kill mercenaries.
Yes.
They can wipe out entire armies.
Yeah. Was it like they killed like 3,000 people in the Battle of Dunkirk?
Yeah.
Something like that.
Exactly.
That sounds like a real battle too. It's like something that actually happened,
I'm almost positive that is something that happened. Yeah, that definitely was something that happened. Oh yeah, which was that happened in the 20th century with Nazi Germany.
That's what I thought too, because there's like a whole movie called Dunkirk.
Yeah. But that's also happening in France though. Oh man, if they do some time travel stuff, that's gonna happen. I'll be. Oh boy. Okay. There is an El Dorado, like, I don't know. We're jumping around this episode a lot, but like, obviously, like, there's an El Dorado that occurred, like, that's mentioned. And that's in South America, right?
Yeah, but didn't they say like you're gonna lead us to the El Dorado? Like, it's a thing.
Yeah, because I think it's El Dorado, if I'm not mistaken, is like the city of gold.
Oh.
And it's hidden. So like and explorers of like the Spanish Inquisition have tried been searching for it, during the whole like Inquisition phase of the colonialism phase of South America. And they're trying to find El Dorado. It's in South America.
Damn, this show like relies on you knowing history quite a bit.
It does. It definitely does. And like, it sucks to say, but like, I don't know a lot.
I don't know shit
enough. History. Yeah. I mean,
it's my least favorite subject.
I constantly am like looking stuff up to be like, okay, that makes sense. Or, oh, that's what I was. Like, I didn't know that Joan of Arc was killed, like burned at the stake, until you had said it. And then I was looking at like a fact sheet about her, and there it was, but I didn't know that originally. So this show is taking us like all across the world.
It is. And all across time, kind of. I think it's cool though. Like, I've never seen an anime that is in real life, like with real people. I think it's neat.
I think it is too. I mean, I think they're doing like, aside from like that little bit of like brushingness in the beginning, middle of the episode, I think that they're doing like a really bang up job with this show.
So do I. And like, they're starting to make you like care about the characters a little bit. Like, for some reason there was just like a scene where they flashed like 3 or 4 different characters within the Goblin Knights, and for some reason I was just like, I feel like one of the twins is gonna die eventually.
Oh yeah. 150%.
Yeah.
Yep. I immediately thought of Harry Potter, right? Because one of the twins does die in Harry Potter. And I was like, okay, that's definitely something that's happened before in one of the most popular movies of all time. So I was like, definitely.
Yeah, and like they're like goofy and lovable, and they're just getting set up to die.
Oh yeah. It's either one of them dies, or one of them is going to die and the other one goes with him, or they both die like immediately. One of that's definitely happening. It's setting it up for it.
Unfortunately, isn't that crazy that we can, like, you just sense that? And like, I'd put money on it that we're right.
Yeah, 100%. Like, it is kind of funny how like from just watching previous things that you're able to kind of like ascertain that just based on being like, okay, you guys said the same thing at the same time. It made me chuckle. You guys are likable. Yep, I've seen this. Yep, you're dying.
everything is a remix, Damien.
That's true.
There's
Everything
no original content.
No, that's also true. Everything is a remix. Even this podcast is a remix.
Yeah.
Yeah, like just everything that we're doing, like all the designs, all the format, the thumbnails, the descriptions. Like I just looked at everyone that was cool that I liked and was like, I like this little bit and I like that little bit and I like this and that and this, and then I put it together and now we have our own thing. It's not
Remix.
direct copying. Yeah, it's just taking the one small thing that I like from somebody else's show or someone else's YouTube channel and adding it to ours.
Yeah. What's that saying that Neil deGrasse Tyson always says? It's like, is it physics was built on the shoulders of giants? You just keep
everything in science is built on the shoulders of giants.
Yeah. But you just take a little bit from all over the place and you put it together, and then eventually when we're super famous and great, someone's going to steal something from us and make their own thing.
I would like that. That would be cool.
Yeah, me too.
If one day people were like doing stuff that we were doing, I'd be like, damn, we're that influential. That's cool. I like that. Yeah, that's not the goal, but that would be cool.
It would be. The goal is to get some subscribers.
Yeah.
Subscribe to our podcast.
Like at least I think it would be cool to like talk to people about stuff.
Oh, 100%.
And get their opinions and be like, yeah, and then like have people like with differing opinions like hop on for like 10 minutes onto the Zoom call. And then they get like their own like little 10 minutes to be like, yeah, this is what I think and this is what I believe and this is why I think you're right or wrong or whatever. And I think that would be like really cool.
Dude, like club meetings, man.
That's exactly what this is for. Yes. Now we said this back a year, like almost more than a year ago.
Wow.
Before we started the pod. Yeah, I mean, we started talking about this a year ago. Started in November.
Yeah, it's almost a year. We'll get there. We'll get there. Don't you worry. Our 3 new subscribers we got, we're getting there.
Yes, but eventually that's the goal, is to have this like more of like club meeting-esque, to have like people jump on and whatnot. I already have all the designs done for the OBS overlays to have another Zoom call or 2 in. So
we'll get there.
Yeah, we will. So yeah, with Fena though, like just like wrapping it up, like yeah, it does suck that the villains just kind of jump on in once like something really cool happens, or they're around that like summoning circle and they get the little coordinates and whatever. But did you notice that they're all women too?
I did. And well, so the eye patch girl, like she talked first and she had like a pretty deep voice, and then the giant muscular one like talked after and had a higher voice, and I'm like, why does this dude have such a high-pitched voice? And I was like, oh, that's not a dude. But they said sir, so it's just me being just not politically correct, But,
I thought it was cool though too. Like, I mean, I was like, damn, this is like the one dude, the blonde hair, hired like a mercenary group of just killer women to just beat up on the Goblin Knights. But I did notice one little thing too. Mary looked at one of the twins for a little bit too long. Did you notice that?
I didn't, but what does that make you? How does that make you feel? Like she's gonna kill him, or she loves him?
I don't know. It happened at the very end, right when the episode ended. Like she looked at him, he looked at her, she looked at him, everyone ran away, and then she ran away at the last second, and then they lit the thing and it blew up, and then that was the one dude that was still on the ship. It panned to him and he jumped up and was like, what was that? And then the episode was over.
Yeah.
But Mary, the one that they weren't like listening to, they were like, which way do we go, Mary? And she's like, this way. And they're like, okay, we're going to go that way. That's who looked at the twin for too long.
And they're comic relief. The twins are the Goblin Knights comic relief. Well, she's theirs.
Yeah. So I can see like, I don't know, like weirdly, like since we don't know which twin it was, because they both look the same, the one dies and then she becomes like the love interest of the single twin that's left.
Could be. I'd like to see that.
Yeah.
And then she turns on the mercenaries, and this could go so many ways.
It could. That's another thing. Like they don't listen to her, they don't respect her. Like, it's funny, like the twins are funny, but they at least respect them as like actual, mercenaries and fighters and friends, whatever. But they don't respect Mary whatsoever. So like I could totally see her turning on that group because they just use her as a punching bag.
Yeah. And then she ends up being the downfall of them. Just like in the 300 Spartans, where the one dude lets him through the ravine where he knows the secret goat path, and that's how they end up dying with this super strong group of soldiers with seemingly no way of killing them. It's the same thing.
It's all the outcast is the one, as episode 38 says, a chain is as strong as its weakest link. Gotta remember that. Don't let Toman down.
Can we talk about Tokyo Revengers?
Yeah, we can.
We can, because that's just so good.
That was just my sick little segue into it. I'll have you know.
That was perfect.
Thank you. Appreciate that. Yeah. So this episode of Tokyo Revengers was mostly a flashback.
And sad and emotional and great.
Yes. It was all of those things wrapped into one. So Baji obviously is still laying there dead. He's dead now, officially. And the only real, like, we saw somewhat, I'd say like a few minutes of like present day, or I guess I don't even know if you want to call it present day because Takemichi's in the past, but it's not really in the flashback. And Takemichi, they're leaving Baji and Kazutoro, but not before we see some Shifu content of him in the past. So in the first flashback, we obviously saw them actually creating Toman.
Yeah.
And it was super important to see that because in the last episode, we saw that when a charm fell out of Baji's coat jacket, and that was the charm that Baji held on to from the creation of Toman.
Since he was, 12 years old? And it was like, that was like the symbol of, we're now a gang. And it was Baji's idea to create the gang from the beginning.
Yeah, it wasn't Mikey. They just came up with it because Kazutoro was getting beat up on by some older kids in his neighborhood.
And their whole mantra was, we're going to create a gang where we will sacrifice we'll sacrifice ourselves for each other. We'll put our lives at risk for each other.
Yeah.
Which is exactly what Baji did.
Yes.
Yes.
He saved both Mikey and Kazutoro.
Yes. Yeah, Kazutoro's not dead now.
Yeah. So Takemichi did what he needed to do, I suppose, and changed enough of the past to change the future. We don't know that for sure. We'll probably find out in the next episode, but we do know that Kazutoro's in jail now.
Yeah. Yeah, I feel like Takemichi's going to go back to the present or the future in the next episode or two, because it's got to be hard for him though. That was such an emotional roller coaster that he just went through, and then he just has to leave it.
Yeah, he has to leave it and go back into the future and see if he changed anything.
Yeah.
And I think I can see episode 23 being him in the future. Everything seems cool because they did have an episode like that where it was like, oh, we're in the future and like I'm going on a date with Hina and like, we're in love. And then she, Akun slams a car into the wall and kills both himself and Hina. I think the same thing's going to happen in episode 23 or 24.
Probably. I mean, it's all about him being in the past. So
yeah, this is true.
He has to have a reason.
Absolutely. I agree with you. But for this episode, we then saw, Shifu at the grave, at Baji's family grave, having the yakisoba and reminiscing about the time that he first met Baji.
And again, just such a heartfelt, like the whole flashback. It just I love how they made Baji look like such a nerd when he was in class, because you didn't even recognize him at first.
No, you didn't at all. And he didn't act like super tough either when he was sitting there in school. No,
and we've known Baji to be like this one-dimensional character this whole time. He's just kind of a hard ass, but a good fighter and blah 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 blah. And they did like such a good job like adding some depth and dimension over these flashbacks to his character.
Yeah, they did it all at the very end too. Like as he was dying and in these flashbacks is where we're getting pretty much all the character development for Baji.
Yeah, which is cool.
Which is really cool. It's a really great way to also feel like retroactively sad for a character, because like even though we're seeing him as like nerd Baji and you're like, this is such a fun character. We saw him stick up for Shifu and beat the crap out of those older dudes. He's dead. We don't get to enjoy him as a character after all the things that we know.
Yeah, it's like bittersweet.
It is. Yeah, it pretty much is. That's a good way of putting it. Bittersweet. I also thought it was funny that he's illiterate.
Yeah.
He doesn't know how to write the word tiger in kanji. I mean, like neither do I, but like And I know when you learn Japanese, like it does take years for kids to learn how to write all the characters in kanji. Like it does take a long time.
Mhm.
But the fact that like you're held back from high school to middle school, can't write or read.
Again, adding more depth to this character.
It did. And Shifu didn't judge him either. He's just someone that he's like, okay, I'll help you out, and was really nice to him and showed him respect after that.
Yeah. Yeah. It's like they just really know how to pull on your heartstrings. Like this show is so good at it. Because would it have felt worse if we saw this before Baji died?
Mm.
I don't know. I think like even doing it this way, like Baji's death already had an impact, and he was just Baji. Like we barely knew anything about him, and they're like now they're just like twisting the knife.
Yeah.
You know,
This is the equivalent of like going to somebody's funeral and then watching like homemade videos of them on a VHS.
Mm-hmm.
That's what this is the equivalent of.
Mm-hmm.
To like reminisce on the memories after they've passed. And that's hard.
Yeah, it is.
So I don't know if it would have been worse, but all I know is it's pretty bad the way it is now.
Yeah. Yeah. This just hats off to the writers of the show.
Yeah, I think this is I really hope they bring the manga to print in America when they figure out the manji symbol. But like I definitely want to support this, buy some manga, buy some figures, maybe.
Yeah. Yeah. It's worth it.
It definitely is. Like this is one of those shows that I'm just like, I cannot wait till the second season. I really hope they have a release planned like they did for Tokyo for 2 Year Eternity. Like once 2 Year Eternity was over there, boom, second season next year.
Mm-hmm.
Same thing for 86. They were like, yep, we're gonna come in the fall. Like I hope that we get like, yep, 2022. You're getting a Tokyo Revengers.
I mean, this is like a 4.9 out of 5 on Crunchyroll, and there's like 15,000 reviews. So like they know it's doing well.
Oh yeah, that's true. You're right. It's crazy enough though, like a lot of in Japan, like whether or not an anime does well or not, one big component, not everything, but one big component is like after series sales, like Blu-ray, DVD, etc.
Mm-hmm.
Like when people purchase, like we're like having like digitally buying it, like if people are purchasing it after the show airs, then they know that they can do another season.
Oh,
it's not the main.
That makes sense.
It's not the main thing, but it is a big part. So
buy the manga if you wanted to keep going.
Yeah, buy the manga, buy the DVDs.
Oh, learned something new today.
Yeah, that's a little tidbit of knowledge. And if anyone else knows any other ways to make a show get a second or third or fourth season, let us know in the comments. Because I would like to know.
Yeah,
and Nick would like to know.
I would like to know.
He's a curious one. Before we fade off on Tokyo Revengers, I want your comment, your input on this one little bit that I did pick up. When Takemichi and Draken were sitting in jail, the delinquency center across from Kazuturo, Baji delivered a message to Kazuturo from Mikey saying that he apologized, he forgives him, but he's also still a part of Tomen as well. And it flashes to Mikey saying like Draken, like something like I hope you're right, or like, is this what you want me to do? Something along those lines. Is this what you want me to do? And it made me think, was that Mikey's true feelings about Kazuturo?
No, he wanted to kill Kazuturo, like for sure.
Yeah,
and he would have if Baji didn't do what he did.
Because
he wanted to kill Kazuturo. Like he had beef with Kazuturo before the whole Baji thing because of his brother. So the Baji thing just set it over the edge.
Yeah.
But Baji succeeded in his mission. Well, no, he didn't. We don't know that yet because his whole mission was Kisaki. And then he made that decision at the end of his life to stop him from killing Kazuturo by killing himself. But his mission from the beginning to, go into Valhalla and all of that was because of Kisaki.
Yes, you're right. And that's kind of like what I'm thinking of. Like, yeah, you temporarily like diverted the ship, but like I just think that Kisaki from this timeline, Kisaki's going to try to do something else that's similar to take over Tomen. And when we go back to the future, we're going to see that Kasaki came up with another 5D chess mastermind plan and executed it while Takamichi was off into the future again.
Yeah, this man's a rat. That's what it is.
Yeah,
Kasaki's
Snake Boy. He's Snake Boy. And you see how he like kind of like walked away as the police were coming. He kind of like turned his back and with his boys and walked. And I was like, damn, like you lost now, but I still feel like you're definitely going to be lurking in the shadows for future stuff.
Yeah, it's crazy that like we still don't know that much about Kasaki after how many episodes that we're in, but he's just been this shadow villain this whole time.
He has been.
Like,
but we do get screen time of him though, but we don't know anything about him.
Right. Yeah, we're getting like that's again really good writing because like it's just adding mystery to this villain this whole time. Like we're getting a teaser, like this is what he looks like. We know that he's still pulling the strings, but like we don't know anything about his story or why he's doing what like how he's doing what he's doing. And it's just great writing.
It is. It's funny. It's really fun to see a show have the villain be directly involved and get screen time and nobody knows that he's the villain. Like you said this a while ago. What is it called? It's like dramatic something irony. It's where the audience knows what's going on, but the rest of the people in the show don't know what's going on.
Yeah.
That's kind of what's happening here. Like we know that he is the villain, but no one else does. And like we get to see him directly intertwine himself with the story.
Yeah, and it makes more tension, more drama by having I think it's situational irony where you're situational irony. Yeah, like you're yelling at the characters on stage because like he's right there, he's the bad guy, but like they can't hear you, and it just adds more tension. Totally. You're Googling stuff right now.
I am. I'm sorry.
You can see it in your eyes.
Fuck.
It's okay.
I can't stop. I just want to be able to say the right thing,
Dude, but that's half of our podcast, like how many times do I not know the name of the character we watched 25 episodes of?
That's almost every episode.
That's part of our charm.
Oh man. Yeah, I guess I gotta stop doing it. I wanted to I don't know. Sorry. I lost myself there. I'll stop.
It's all right. It's okay. It's okay, David.
Thank you. But yeah, Tokyo Revengers. Excited for next week.
Oh, every week I'm excited for next week.
Every week we're excited. A show that I think is really kicking up steam, Nick, more so than we thought for the entirety of this show so far, is Moonlit Fantasy.
Yes.
It was mostly world building and fun. And now we're starting to see some more things happening.
Yeah. Go ahead. I want you to take the lead on this.
Yeah, no worries. So, and part of what's happening that's funny is that obviously like Tomo and Mio want to take the young master's virginity and force themselves upon him. And he is absolutely not interested because he believes that they are like his family and not something that would be romantically interested in him.
Yeah, which is, but also like there was the prostitute, and he's just like, no, like isn't he supposed to be like a horny teenager?
I don't know what his prerogative is. He feels like someone who's like super focused on starting his own trading company. And he's on this grand adventure, but yeah, you'd think that because he was like, didn't he tell the one dude to like delete all of his like stuff off of his computer before he was isekai'd?
Yeah.
So obviously he is a horny teenager.
Yeah, like this man's resolve in doing what he wants to do and not letting any distractions get in the way is impeccable.
Incredibly, his resolve is incredibly strong.
Yeah,
this man's does not move. He is steady. My one question for you is so there was a bit of a confusing component of this episode for me. Maybe you got a little bit of a different when he was shooting the bow and arrow, and like he's focusing on shooting the bow and every time he focuses, he dies.
Yeah, it didn't really make a lot of sense to me either. But they were saying like so his way of focusing was like he assimilated with his surroundings to be like part of the target or something along those lines.
Yeah.
And Mio and Tomo were like, the only way that you can assimilate with the world around you like that is to die. And it didn't really make a lot of sense to me either. But every time he did it and he came back, it was like a rebirth, and he just got stronger because of doing it.
Yes. And now his mana is completely off the charts.
Yeah. And a little funny tidbit is when they were showing that map and it was like the aura around him kept getting bigger. You don't watch Dragon Ball Z, but literally like it was Super Saiyan 3 Goku in the middle of the giant mana block, like the big yellow flare that they showed in that map or that drawing. It was a little character in the middle. His hair was super long. He was standing like Goku does. I just thought that was funny. It was like a little Easter egg shout out to Dragon Ball Z.
Oh my god, that's so cool.
Yeah, I mean, it was a silhouette, but you're like that's Goku.
Dragon. That's Goku. Oh my god, that's such a cool little tidbit. I didn't know that.
Yeah, I don't even know how I picked up on it. I was just like, wait,
bro, you have the ability to pick up on those things because you've seen like some of the old popular shows.
Yeah, but I guess because the shows that like I've seen the really popular ones, that everything gets drawn from, essentially everything is a remix. But like you've watched way more anime than I have.
Yeah,
at this point
I watch a lot of like dumpster shit though. That's the
you
issue.
do. That's so weird.
Like I don't watch anything that's like, there are still big major shows that I have not seen that while having an anime podcast I probably should have watched by now. But no, I like the dog shit stuff, I probably shouldn't say I like the dog shit because that's gonna get clipped. But no, I do. I don't know. I will get to the good shows eventually. It has this thing where it's like once I watch them and it's over, then it may be like, I don't know, it'll be over, but because I still have them on my list, it's like I have something to like look forward to,
yeah that's fair,
because a lot of anime YouTubers, and like I've seen people make jokes about this on Twitter, is that like imagine being an anime YouTuber that still watches anime. Like a lot of the big ones don't really like watch it as much anymore
because they've seen it all.
Yeah, they've seen everything that's good. And like think about the stuff that's coming out now that's like if you wanted to watch, like I'll give you an example. Multiple shows of this season have we watched, there are better versions of. Right. Like if you wanted to watch, if you like Moonlit Fantasy, you should have watched Konosuba. If you like Tokyo Revengers, you probably should have watched Erased. Like there are multitudes of other shows that like we're watching where like there is like the precipice show that's kind of based off of, Yeah.
So like if we would have watched Konosuba first, would we have not appreciated Moonlit Fantasy as much?
That's kind of what I'm getting at. Yeah. And that's kind of what I'm hearing. Like people who have seen Konosuba and then they do watch Moonlit Fantasy, they're like, like it's not as good. Like I watched Konosuba. Konosuba's funnier. Like it's like this is like we have a self-aware MC with like attractive women next to him, and like they're funny and they have beef with each other. Like that already exists. And it's like, oh, okay. And Konosuba is like way better, okay. according to people. So like, yeah, I don't know. It's just a thing that I've seen on Twitter and Reddit and whatnot.
That's fair enough, but I feel like you have to watch one of the big three. The big three being Naruto, One Piece, or Bleach.
Yeah.
I've only seen one, so like who am I to, but like yeah, those are the ones that everyone like makes callbacks to.
Yeah. No, and you're right.
I want it to be Naruto because that's the one I watched.
You know what? I want to do Bleach. Just going to do One Piece just to spite you.
Dude, I would be angry. I would be angry if like you didn't watch Naruto because it's such a commitment because there's like 1,000 episodes, but then you picked One Piece and you watched that instead, which has 5,000 episodes. I would be angry.
Oh, well, I think One Piece only has like 300 more episodes than Naruto does.
Yeah, but it's still going.
Yeah, and it's going to continue to go for years.
Forever. This is
Yeah.
never gonna end.
I think there's like 5 more years of manga left, which means that there's more than that for the anime. So
what more can this dude do?
apparently, like the mangaka Ida is like an insanely good storyteller, and he makes callbacks to things from hundreds of episodes ago.
That's pretty incredible.
Yeah. So the story is worth watching and knowing, because when Luffy finds the One Piece, you're gonna want to be up to date on the show.
Yeah. All right. Yeah, maybe I should stop like talking shit, because that's another one that's like one of the big three. Like,
yeah,
how can you watch anime and not watch One Piece?
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. I mean, it would take a really long time to get through it, but I mean, you could also just read the manga too, and then just start off from where the show is once you read the manga. But apparently, the show is like some of they have like the fights and the events are amazing.
Mm-hmm.
So, it is worth watching, and I will eventually watch it.
Good, and you'll eventually watch Naruto.
Yes,
we're going to talk about it on the show.
Yes,
I will see your reactions.
I will watch Naruto before I watch One Piece. You have my word on that for sure.
Good. One of these days, it's going to be a segment. It's going to be Damien watches Naruto episode 77, and we get to see your reaction. And people who also watch Naruto and want to relive that freshness,
freshness, that little bit.
They're going to love it. They're going to love it. Because I would love to go back and rewatch it and not know,
Mm-hmm. Really?
Yeah, because but again, it's nostalgia to me at this point. Yeah, but Moonlit Fantasy, it's a little bit of a tangent.
We're gonna shelf Naruto for now and go back to Moonlit Fantasy, right?
Yeah. Yeah, I love that. Like Makoto, like he really hasn't done anything, but he has like
you're right,
gods that follow him around.
Yeah,
and he's got his own demi-plane, and he's got all of these people that like just love him, and he's just fallen into it. And it's like it's a recurring joke that just that doesn't it's not funny. It's not funny to me. It's always funny.
Yes.
So he's just like sitting there, and like one of each of the species come up to him, and they have like a request or just like report to him, and they just are in love with this kid, and he doesn't know what to do. He doesn't know what to say, and it's the awkwardness is just, I just want to like I want to swim in it.
You want to swim in it. That's fucking hilarious.
It's great.
Yeah, he's so uncomfortable no matter how many times he does it. Like he wants Tomo to be the one to be like his Secretary of State almost, to like go out and talk to the people, and she's like, nope, they want to hear from you, good luck. And then she like runs away, and like he's left to do it himself. And I do think it's absolutely so funny. And like even seeing like some of the new like Liddy the Lizard, like I was like, oh man, Liddy the Lizard, new character unlocked. Like what's gonna happen to Liddy now that we know of?
Yeah. So but they go to the ambrosia flowers field.
So there's some conflict.
Yes, we're getting some conflict, and the guardians of the ambrosia field are like, they remind me of like wood elves, like they're super powerful.
Yes.
Think like in Seven Deadly Sins, like what's king part of the fairy
race,
and they're like super powerful, and they're the guardians of the forest. Like it's it's the same thing,
same Bob.
But who are the other people?
Which ones?
So they had them, the wood elves. They have king, and then we have our main Mio and Makoto, and but there was other people like following them.
Yeah, those three people, I think they were just adventurers.
Okay.
Yeah, I think they were like kind of sent off to follow Makoto. They could be from the Rembrandt Company. They could not be from them. But it is interesting that she was also the prostitute as well.
Yeah.
She's actually an adventurer portraying as a prostitute, which leads me to believe that they are intentionally interjecting themselves into Makoto's doings. So it could be a competitor, it could be a Rembrandt, whatever, but they are definitely out for him specifically. I don't really think they cared about the ambrosia flowers whatsoever.
No. unless they were from Rembrandt, and Rembrandt wants the flowers.
Oh yeah, and they knew that Makoto was going to go get the flowers, so they have adventurers follow him so they can intercept and pick the flowers instead of paying the middleman costs of someone going and getting them for them.
Yeah. And then meanwhile, this whole time, this like nuclear bomb at Makoto's side, which is Mio, just wants to kill all of them because she got to hold his hand for 31 seconds 31 and then they interrupted.
And she was pissed,
which was pretty hilarious as well.
It was. And have you been noticing that Makoto is like constantly like hiding himself? Like first he needed to hide his words, and now he needs to hide his mana amount. I feel like at one point all of that's gonna like break. It's gonna be like the Hoover Dam breaking, and it's just gonna be a floodgate of power.
He's like he's at goddess level now, which is what they said. Like there is no other being in this world that like even compares to him.
Yeah, which is insane because he's still level 1 rank E.
Yeah, but which is cool because we might finally actually have a villain that can put up a fight, and that being the goddess, which is hilarious because like it's been this running joke of like she's a bitch because she called me ugly and like cursed me that throughout this whole series. But they're like, yeah, we have to hide you from the goddess because she's going to try to exterminate you.
Yeah, so that's gonna be like the fight between the two.
Dude, what if like our prediction where it was like, it seems like we're building an army and there's going to be an army battle. What if it's like the angels and the goddess and all her minions versus the demiplane and Makoto, and like the two powerful beings at the top, and then they both have armies, and there's actually a reason for all of this.
Wow. That would be incredible, because I was thinking that like the fight was going to be with these wood elf creatures, but it just doesn't seem like they come anywhere near the power that Makoto and Mio and Tomo have. So yeah, like it could very well be a fight with the angels and the goddess race.
Yeah. So this whole like we're just kind of playing around right now. Like his whole trading company, like that's just essentially a B story.
Yeah.
And like in the background, this whole time, it's going to be, the gods versus Makoto.
One of the things that I'm recognizing now was said that as his mana grows, the demiplane grows. Are the wood elves and the ambrosia flowers in the demiplane?
No,
they're outside of it.
Yes.
Okay, I can see the elves being taken in as another crew.
Yeah, because he did mean like he wanted to come in peace and just talk to them.
Yeah. I could see them being taken.
They're probably more powerful than all the other species within the demiplane.
Absolutely, yeah, definitely are. They have ranged attacks. They have power. They have magic and range attacks. So absolutely, I don't think Liddy the lizard could step to a wood elf.
No, he can't even step to an orc. Well, he can now because
he can now.
Yeah,
but not now. At the very end of this episode, we saw like a skeleton creature, like, and then was gone. And I was like, "Oh, what was that?"
Wasn't that his like aura?
I thought so. I thought that was. I was like, "Is that Mio going like absolutely berserk, or is that him?"
I think it might be him. I think it's like he's got a leak.
He's got a leak.
Yeah, and like his aura is coming out because they said his aura looks like Demon King's.
Yeah, and we keep saying the word Demon King, right?
Yeah.
And what fights demons, Nick? Goddess.
Angels. Dude, we figured this whole show out.
Yeah, that's what's happening. We're setting it up.
Great. I'm looking forward to it.
Yeah, me too. I think it'll be fun.
Yeah.
I do want to see some big conflict in this show, though, eventually. So
yeah, it needs it.
It does. It does need it. So we'll be looking forward to it. Seeing like a huge demon race battle between Makoto and the goddess for calling him ugly.
Could be awesome. That's the whole reason why. Because you called him ugly.
That's all we want. That's all we want to know. And yeah. So
well, we got one left. And there's definitely conflict in this one.
Is there conflict, Nick? Oh my God. My Hero Academia. Aptly named Sad Man's Parade.
Yeah, so like a couple episodes ago, you were talking and you're like, I feel bad for his name's Twice, right? Is it double or is it Twice?
Twice.
You're like, I feel like he shouldn't actually be a villain. Like I feel bad for him. You said that.
Yes.
And like this episode just like hammered it home. Like he's well, he is a split personality, but like he's so much more. He's not one dimensional. He's not just a villain. Like you feel bad for him again. The sad man's parade.
Yeah, he was kind of adopted into the villains circle because everyone else around him rejected him.
Mm-hmm.
And he also used his power, his quirk, his meta ability to like steal and all that stuff.
Mm-hmm.
Again, because society has in My Hero Academia has acceptableness in their quirks, and anything that falls outside of that realm is not acceptable. So they don't do anything to help those people. So what do? They fall into like a life of crime. And that's what Twice did.
Yeah, but he's a good person.
Yeah.
Like his whole driving factor now is he wants to protect those people that accept him, like his friends, which that's a noble trait.
Yeah. He wants to protect Toga and Shigaraki. And we saw, I mean, I don't think that this episode was like nearly as deep as the last episode with Toga's backstory, but we also did know a lot more about Twice than we did Toga. From the past. So Twice actually never let himself get hurt, because if he felt like he got hurt himself, he would end up disappearing.
Yeah, what a cool thing, like he thought this whole time that he was actually a duplication.
Yes.
And so he just never got hurt because of it. Like that's so neat.
It is really interesting. And it's really funny. Like, I don't want to botch what I'm about to say, but when you're dealing with anxiety and you're anxious about a certain thing, there's exposure therapy that helps clients do a certain exposure thing, like a little bit of a time, until your anxiety around that specific action or thing is healed. And while Twice's was done very quickly, it was almost the same realm. His exposure to getting hurt showed him that he no longer had that anxiety about, oh my God, I'm going to die if I hurt myself, because I think I'm a copy. So when he went over that hump, which happened very quickly, he kind of self-soothed himself, and he was able to really unlock his true power.
Yeah, he created an army just out of himself, which we didn't know he was that powerful.
No, we did not. And it never really portrayed himself as that powerful, even like in his past life before he like saw himself kill himself. He was able to make like 10 copies of himself, but in this case, he was able to make thousands, enough to rival the amount of those in the Meta Liberation Army. So he's now insanely strong.
Yeah. So can we talk about the difference between meta ability and quirk?
Because they're the same thing. Yeah, I think they're the same thing, but it's just the Meta Liberation Army rebranded what a quirk was, so they can have their own term for that, for the ability.
But they had that whole speech with Redestro, where like when he first met with the clone of Shigaraki, he was like, there was this woman, and she had this meta, like they went into this whole thing of the history of it, where like there was a time where having a quirk made you an outcast, and they called it a meta ability at that time. And what he was saying about the woman, like I feel like I need to go rewatch that scene, how she started calling it a quirk, and like it started to become more like there was a point when not everybody, like not as many people had meta abilities. So like it was almost like it was a new thing.
Yes.
And then they changed the name of it to quirk to like soften the blow of it, I guess. That's kind of what I got out of it.
Yeah.
So, but yeah, I feel like there's a big point where everybody was an outcast at one point when they had a quirk.
Yes, but there wasn't that many people that had it. The more people who had quirks, had children, they had quirks. They had multiple kids that with quirks, and they kind of like a family tree of any sort kind of grows as it comes from one singular person.
So where
like any mutation does.
We were just always like this world. There was just always quirks. But now we've learned that there was a point when there wasn't, and then
I
there
thought
was.
I thought in the very beginning of the show, in the first season, when they explained quirks, they said that they didn't exist, and then all of a sudden they did exist.
We just don't know why.
Yes. It could have something to do with Deku.
All for one, one for all.
Yeah. There's probably something at play there that involves those two.
Likely. Okay.
And yes, I was under the assumption that the meta liberation, like meta ability, was a differently branded term than quirk to try to make themselves stand different from heroes.
Okay.
They didn't want to use the language of the heroes and the villains.
It makes a little more sense now.
It's like reclaiming a term almost. Like they see themselves reclaiming the term of meta ability and using that for their own purposes.
Okay. And then another confusing thing was so like they want to do away, the Meta Liberation Army wants to do away with heroes and villains and all of that.
Mm-hmm.
They're all about the quirks.
Yeah.
So the ice guy was fighting Dobby, and he was like, in our world, the only like you're going to be ranked based on the power of your quirk.
Yeah.
And that's it, which is the same thing
as heroes.
As heroes.
Yes. So, which I thought was really counterintuitive to what Meta Liberation Army was for. But then I was thinking, like, in broader terms, like when you're a hero, you use your quirk. You can't use your quirk unless you're a hero. And I think the Meta Liberation is saying anyone who has a quirk can use it in any circumstance to their best of their abilities, which leads me to believe that they want a meritocracy. So they want leaders based off merit, not based off popularity or like a system created for a specific group of people. So like, for example, like if Deku was given one for all or all for one for all, one for all, and he didn't make it into the UA, he wouldn't have been able to use that quirk. He wouldn't have been able to train it. He wouldn't have been able to do any of that stuff. But in the Meta Liberation Army's world, they are like allowing like anyone to use their quirk without fault.
Okay. Liberating the meta abilities.
Yes. That makes a lot of sense. Yeah.
That makes a lot of sense.
Yeah.
Okay.
But it does, so it'd be a meritocracy.
Gotcha.
So whoever's the best is the ones that rise to the top. And I think this dude, Gatan, believes himself to be one at the top. And then in that case, so does Redestro, you know? Mm-hmm. So it's like, even though it's funny because like while Redestro wants to liberate everyone who has a quirk, he still wants to be at the top.
Yeah.
It's not like a flat power. Yeah, it's not like a flat foundation that he's going for. He just wants to obtain power and hold that cycle of power from the heroes.
Wow. Yeah, you said that this episode wasn't as deep, but it was pretty deep.
Yeah, it was.
We learned a lot. It wasn't as like sad, I think, as the previous episode.
Yeah, the last episode was sad. This one was like insanely informative and also really, really entertaining with some of the stuff that like Twice and Shigaraki were doing, like when they were in the building. Mm-hmm. And like Redestro has a deadly quirk.
Yeah.
Like I think his is like, it looks like it's like grow or something like that. He has like the ability, like he uses one finger to swipe one of Twice's heads off.
Yeah.
And then he uses his entire arm to swipe everybody. Mm-hmm. But they created a Shigaraki who jumped in the air, and Redestro thought he was the real Shigaraki. And I thought that too.
So did
I. Until the real Shigaraki collapsed that building.
Yeah, he's like the fake Shigaraki was like, I made eye contact with with him, which is the real Shigaraki. He's like, yeah, if it were me, I'd touch this building. And that's what he did.
Yes. Yeah. Which is insane. I thought that was I thought was like a super cool play. So
did I. And
I found myself rooting for the villains right now.
Well, yeah, they're the coolest.
Yeah, I know. We spent 5 seasons like thinking how terrible they are. Now we're like in this position where we're like, oh my God, Meta Liberation Army sucks.
Yeah. Again, that gray area. I'm not saying I want to be off this episode, but the preview for next episode, we're getting the Shigaraki backstory. And I have a feeling it's going to be brutal.
Oh yeah. Well, so truth be told, I actually totally forgot to watch the end scene for this show.
It's just the preview for the next episode.
Yeah, the preview for the next one.
It's not Shigaraki's backstory. It's his real name, which I don't remember what it was. It was like Sheno or something.
Oh,
he used his real name, and they're like it's the backstory of who he was before he was Shigaraki, and it's like they had like a flash of a scene like him running with like a little girl, and this whole I'm just thinking like his quirk's gonna activate. He's gonna touch this little girl, and she's gonna die.
Oh yeah.
You know, it's gonna be a brutal one next episode.
Interesting. Okay, so it's cool that they are doing this. I see what they're doing now. They're doing a lot of like flashbacks and backstories amongst this Meta Liberation Army arc.
Mm-hmm. Yes,
it's almost like they're using Meta Liberation Army as like a sounding board for telling the backstories of the villains.
Yeah,
like giving us a story in the future that's pertaining to what's happening, that's going to happen, because like they are unlocking new parts of their quirks and they're getting stronger. We're going to see that when they fight the heroes of 1A, but we're also getting all their backstories at the same time.
Yeah.
So not only are we getting backfilled, but we're also getting actual progression in the story. Sorry, I didn't mean to cut you off.
Oh no, you're fine. You're fine. It's hard with Resume. Which hearing you say that makes me think that like the Meta Liberation Army is definitely going to lose, and it's going to be the heroes versus the villains at some point, because we're not learning about the Meta Liberation Army. We're learning about the villains.
You're right. That's totally true. I get the vibe that like Redestro is kind of like a comic book, because yeah, this is based off a comic book, but he feels like just like a comical villain almost, with, you know, like the weird proportions and all that jazz. Like he just seems like someone that's not someone that I would take seriously. That's the leader of a Meta Liberation Army. Like his dad, definitely.
Mm-hmm. It's his nose. That's what does it.
Is that what it does? Is that like the comical? Is it like comical at that point?
I mean, he has a beak for a nose, so it could be.
He does. So like maybe that's where it's like throwing me off. I'm like, I don't really believe you as like a villain. Like you kind of like same thing with Gentle Criminals. Like I just don't believe you to be someone that like I take seriously.
Dude, that whole arc could have just never happened.
Oh yeah. They could have just gone to the stadium and had their music show and it been over, and I would have been just as happy.
Yeah, that was just weird. That's what that was.
I don't know why they did that or what that like was for, who that was for, but it wasn't anything I really cared too much about, honestly.
100%.
Yeah. That's it for my hero, I think, right?
It is. Big fan of Twice.
Me too. Huge fan. Such a cool character. And I'm excited to see what happens next week.
Yeah, we say that for 5 out of 6 of our fans.
Yeah, we truly do. We truly do. I think next season we'll be saying that for every show. But
you sent me a little sneak peek of the ones that you're thinking about watching, and
we're gonna watch some really heavy hitters, especially if they do premiere this year or at the time we think that they're gonna premiere. It's gonna be a jam-packed fall season.
Stay tuned, folks.
Oh yeah, because there's gonna be some big ones.
Yeah. Now I've got a question. Do we have my favorite segment this week?
Fortunately, we do not. It's been a backed up week for me. I actually have it in my notebook for everything that I need to check off and watch. So for next week's episode, I'll be up to date and we'll go over some stuff before Damien gets fired up.
Yeah, I mean, we had a weird schedule last week, and then we had a holiday this week, so it's understandable.
Yeah, that's also true. Holiday, weird schedule backs us up. You know, what can you do?
Yeah, such is life.
Such is life. We'll get to it. You know.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Do you plan on like we're just going to keep it at the shows that we're at now? You don't want to put in a replacement for To Your Eternity? Because I feel like we're kind of we're pretty late in the season now. Yeah. To add something, like we'd have to watch like 8 episodes of a new show if we're going to do a new show.
Yeah, we are super, super late. So like we are kind of late, like based off everything else that I'm watching. Like I don't know if it's like necessarily like worth talking about. And they are good shows, but I don't know. Like we are kind of like everything else that's airing. Like we didn't watch the first season of Slime. We didn't watch the first season of Miss Kobayashi's like made, things like that. We could watch, because we do need to. I'm thinking for next season, we'll be watching. I gotta pull it up. Hold on. I'm looking at my screen. Mushiko Tensei. I just didn't want to pronounce that incorrectly. Mushiko Tensei season 2 is coming out, and that's something that a lot of people are very much looking forward to. And I think that we may have to add to our show. So we might have to watch that first half of that season if we want to watch Mushiko Tensei season 2.
Okay. Well, I was just thinking that, this is an analysis of some new shows.
Yes.
And some old favorites. And that time slot of like, we were already watching 6.
Yeah.
Now we're doing 5 of 6. You could just put in an episode of Naruto there,
Oh, okay.
And then we talk about it, because I've watched through it, 2 or 3 times now. So
okay.
Even if it's one episode, like I could probably comment on where you're at.
Yeah. I'm in a pretty big spot too. So we haven't gotten to the filler section.
Yeah.
We're still trying to get Tsunade to become the 4th or 5th Hokage.
Yeah. 5th.
Okay.
Yeah. So, it's just a suggestion, baby.
Yeah, I like that suggestion. I'll bear that in mind for next week.
I know it's kind of a relief to have one less anime, because, it's a lot, you watch a lot of shows, but if you did happen to just need an extra 20 to 30 minutes next week, just give it a watch and we'll talk.
I think I can do that. I think I can find time.
Cool.
For a little bit of Naruto.
It just makes me so excited to hear you go through it.
I feel you. I'll add it. I will.
Good. If you don't, it's okay.
I'll add that to our notes right now. Actually bringing back the analysis of some old favorites.
Yeah, or we could just finish Code Geass.
Okay. This first weekend, I was also talking to this person, and they were talking about like thriller or shows that didn't end the way that you thought they were going to end, with like good ending, like endings where everyone's fine at the end. And he's like, yeah, have you ever seen Code Geass, Lelouch of the Rebellion? I was like, I've seen the first season and 16 episodes of the second season. So I got about 9 episodes left. And he's like, oh, yeah, that's a show you should have absolutely finished already. Like, it's really good and also has a really interesting ending. I was like, really? Because episode 16 kind of sucked.
Oh, no. We could put that in that slot.
We'll finish it eventually. I'll watch Naruto because I do really want to finish Naruto. Because if I have to hear you or my girlfriend talk about it one more time, I'm just going to quit my job and watch it for 2 weeks straight. So I don't have to hear anyone say anything about it ever again.
That's not a bad idea. And, like 2 of the most important people in your life keep telling you to do it.
I know. I probably should.
It's good reason,
Here's the thing I want everyone to know, actually, about Nick. Anytime that he's made a recommendation for something, he's never been wrong. It's always been a good recommendation. And there's times where Nick has been told me to do something for a long time. Like years. I think the Naruto one is the longest, but there are other things that Nick has suggested in life to do, and I've blatantly have ignored him.
Yeah, it's
for
okay.
one reason or the other. I don't know, but every time I've done it, I've been like, wow, that was really, really worth it. I wish I've done that earlier. So
we're learning from past mistakes, and you're going to pick it up, right?
Yes. To take Nick's suggestions for media and television shows.
Yes.
I think BoJack Horseman was what
that was the one. That was the one.
You told me to watch it forever, and then I finally did, and I thought it was amazing.
Just love me some BoJack, man.
Yeah, it was good. It was definitely worth it. If you haven't watched BoJack, you probably should.
Yeah. All right, man. Well,
but that's it. Thank you, everyone.
5.
We did 5, and we're gonna add 6 next week. So Naruto, which will be cool. And then we'll roll into our fall.
I'm so excited, Damien.
Talk about some Naruto. Yes, everyone, thank you so much for coming to our 41st club meeting where we discuss all things anime and sometimes manga related. We are you 2 wannabe weebs. We redetail the season's newest shows and analysis. Did I say that already? Screw it. You can find us at akiculture.club or at akicultureclub on social media. New website, new YouTube channel with new clips and whatnot. And yeah, that's it.
Give us a like, give us a comment.
Let us know.
We'll see you next time. And there's only one way to end it.
Peace out.
See ya.